Today's Tuesday, July 21. I am building again with Fable and Decentraland. It's about 9 p.m. I've been working for a little bit. I took a break over the weekend. So the elevator is what we wanted to build today. And I asked Sonnet, I'd like to do a little more work on the project. I think the next step is for me to get the transportation working. What do you recommend first? The teleport pad or the elevator cab? And it said it wanted to do the elevator cab first, and it justified it with reasons. And the teleport was an afterthought, it says. So we're going to do cab movement logic. And I've learned a lot from this little bit. Let me share my screen and show you what I've learned. I'm a basic coder. When it comes to coding things, I've never really done a lot of back-end database stuff. What this is, it's teaching me how the Creator Hub works together with your hand-coded processes. Because to make this elevator work and go up and down according to rotating 30 degrees each floor, it's going to need some involved code that Sonnet here has written for me. So it asked me, it made all the files, and we discussed how we were going to transfer the files, and I was going to copy the index over and then drag some others over. So it went into the scene config. So here's where it sets up the scene like, okay, we've got an elevator. It sits at this location. We're going to open these variables and then call in the function of going up and rotating. And my first try, I did exactly what it said. So I had this building on the scene here in the Creator Hub, and I did all the things that the LLM told me to do. And when I got inside of Decentraland Previewer, I saw two buildings askew by maybe 10 degrees. So the scene that I had dragged on was still there with the drag and drop modality. And then the scene that was coded in by Claude also appeared, and they were just on top of each other, slightly rotated. And Claude said, let's not bicker or something. I said, you told me to drag it on the screen. I said, there's two buildings askew by a touch. And he's like, oh, that detail is all the tell. Smells like a duplicate. I'm like, of course you told me to place the building on the scene last week. And he says, I don't want to relitigate exactly who said what. Getting the files into the project's assets folder is something we walked through together. And then the other action of dragging a file into the assets folder and dragging it into the Creator Hub local assets panel in the 3D viewport. Those are two different things. Okay, so now we know it's possible to have a duplicate if your code that you're coding on the side calls for it to place the GLB on the scene, and you've already got one in the Creator Hub. Okay, so this is basics for people who know what they're doing. I don't know what I'm doing, and I am just learning it. And so it says, okay, never mind. Go ahead and tell me what the coordinates are for your building, and I'll rewrite my code. I said, fine. And I told it the coordinates, and then it says, okay, now delete the elevator. So I'm like, okay, that makes total sense, because the elevator in the Creator Hub needs to be commanded from the code. So the code itself is going to be what's running that cab. And so it told me, all right, we're going to test going up one level. Go ahead and try this code. And I tried it in this scene, and I think I have it here. Do I have it here? This was my first try, and Claude had placed this elevator with the door at the corner, so it's blocked. And then there was no button, and I told him that. And plus, it's got this open transom, and I haven't told him that yet, because we've been having a lot of trouble with this elevator, and I don't like what's going on with the hallway. It's got some sort of a faux hall tunnel or something. And so I said, "Where's the button?" And it says, "My bad. There should be buttons. It's not missing." And I went around the building and I'm like, "Why? The button is behind the elevator. Here's a button." So this button is being called in from code. So I didn't drag it on the scene and I didn't place a smart item. So call elevator to the ground is what it says when I click it. And that's the tooltip. That's the progress I wanted to show so far. I mean, at this point, I wonder if I'm talking to the wrong model because Sonic seems to be confused. So it had me take a screenshot from in the preview about the orientation of the elevator door. And from the screenshot, it interpolated that, oh, it's a true geometry issue. It's not, it's some other problem. And it said the shaft has 4 full height corner support posts, and one of them sits at exactly the same point, 45-degree line from the shaft center. I know. I think that maybe I should have taken all of this conversation to Fable. I gave it this. Oh, come on. Yeah. And the door is supposed to. Oh, I'm tired. Okay, but this is the answer. I refreshed the elevator code file and I didn't even have to like relaunch the previewer. And it's fixed here in the previewer. So you can approach the elevator at least. Well, it's sort of okay. I don't know why it's having this trouble. And it thinks that the button is in clear view and lined up with the elevator, but let's see. I think the elevator button is still back here. Yeah. Yeah, maybe I should give this to Fable because it doesn't seem to know. Well, I don't even know. Like, our goal tonight was to get this elevator to move from floor 1 to floor 2, and I don't know how. So it's 9:45 and I took it to Fable. I'm telling on use on it, and I went to Fable and Fable asked me some questions, and I had to make the text a little bigger so I could see it. It looked at what Sonnet had done. And it's like, yeah, here's how it works. It wanted me to test it, and I says, well, I can't write it up yet. And how's this going to work? And there's no buttons inside the cab. And there's a transom above the cab porthole window, and the entry is the shaft. So I told this to Fable to see if it can fix it. And it says, okay, you call the button on the outside, it goes to your floor. Once you board, the cab is the button, press E on it to ride, and it moves to the next stop in the loop. So you just ride it, and it's going to go 1, 2, 3, and then all the way, start over again. And it's going to revolve as it climbs. It says there's no buttons inside because we're a little limited, and no, I don't know. I'm skimming this. And then the transom and the tunnel are just a mistake because I made the door taller because I wanted hats and tall hair to be able to get through it. And then it says the fix for both is to frame the full doorway honestly instead of pretending the porthole is a door. And I don't know what that means, honestly. Honestly, I don't know what you're talking about. Paste this to Sonnet. So Sonnet is using Blender. It says it is using Blender. It's getting a screenshot. That's so exciting. Here's Blender. Let's see. That's what it's doing. It's working on that elevator. Maybe. It's because I had Blender open and connected to the MPC server. So it's just, it didn't ask me to start it up because I had it. I opened them together and I connected it. when I started, I didn't know if I was going to need blender tonight, and it looks like I do. It's 10 o'clock, and it did something. It and the door is different for sure, and it thinks it fixed the door and the transom that's see-through, but I can still see right through it. Let's see if I can ride this thing. It says it added the E for ride. I'm pressing E. I don't know. I relaunched the previewer. Let's find out. Oh, darn. It was mentioning that something's wrong with the collider. See if I can ride E, or it says clicking the cab. Oh boy. It says you can click the cab to ride the elevator. Oh well, another day. Bye. It's Yolantis, and it's July 22. I have been going back and forth with Claude for a little bit tonight about the button placement for the elevator call button. So apparently, this is really confusing for it, like where the interactive buttons are being placed in the code. Claude, or the model, cannot see my build, and it can't reference the DCL build because it's in a protected location, so it can't get the files directly. So we're losing some numbers in translation. So the button, the elevator call button, is going behind the elevator, in front of the elevator. It's like being floated in midair. We can't get it using code alone to locate right on the beam where I want it. So I came up with a couple of metaphors for it. First metaphor tonight was a clock metaphor for placement of these buttons. And I'm like, okay, my land is a square. The circle of the base of the land is a circle. It goes inside the square. 12 o'clock is the farthest away from the elevator door. So if you would turn the base up like that, it would be a clock, 12 o'clock and 6 o'clock. And then the external call button is at 12 when I really need it at 6 o'clock. And all the levels still have the call button behind the elevator cab, please fix. And the ride button internally is also at 12 when I need it at 6, fix it. It's like, oh yeah, that makes sense. And so it does it. I go inside and I ride it, and I'm like, well, now the call button is floating midair, and he didn't get it on the post, but it was okay. It was rideable. I went all the way up and all the way down. And so I said the ride button is satisfactory and the call button is in midair. And when I asked it to put it in one of the support beams, they couldn't do the math right. So I said, I'm going to place a button in the Creator Hub, and then I want you to match. And so I haven't gone to look at what it did. And here it's blurb. It says, okay, I did it, but I think it's going to be wrong because we've got a flag and there's a difference in numbers. Let's find out. I'm going to move this away. Here's Creator Hub, where I manually place a blue button with the gizmos. So I have a move and a rotate gizmo, and I have a transform panel in the properties pane on the right-hand side. And the position here, it says 10, 1.25, and 6.5. I see. All right. So yeah, these numbers are getting lost in translation. The blue button, I'm in my preview window. This is my Creator Hub button in blue. And this one here is, okay, well, still behind the elevator, dude. I don't know what you're thinking, Sonnet. but the numbers are obviously confusing. So let me try to go first person view, and we're going to ride this elevator. So here's that button to ride. Okay. And you can sort of exit. There's my stupid diorama guessing game. I still have to wire up all of those. So here's that call button in case the elevator's not on your floor. All right, we're going to go to the third floor in the elevator. I cannot fix this open transom. I'm just, who cares? I'm like taking what I can get. Oh, we're going to the second floor. And yay, the view is pretty cool. These are too tall. I realized I can't really jump on them because I will not fit. The ceiling is too low or these are too high. I will do that later. And one more time, we're going to ride. Whew. Yep. Nice view of the ocean. Okay, well, this elevator takes up the entire space of the build. It's not quite what I envisioned. And there's that call button behind the elevator, but whatever. We're getting somewhere. We're getting somewhere close to being functional. Don't promise the world. Oh my gosh. Tired of the button placement. It's getting a little tedious and exhausting. So I skipped around and I asked Sonnet here how much work it's going to be or how many steps it might take for me to start getting the buttons on level 1 programmed and ready to send to the furniture in level 2. It says, yeah, we have to test, and it's going to be like 3 rounds like tonight. And it has to read a file it hasn't read yet. And so I told it to, and then I said, okay, I want to draw the button labels myself. That's something I don't want to leave to AI. It's going to come out wonky. I know it. And so I said, should I talk to Sonnet or Fable to give me the template that I can use to draw on in Illustrator? And Sonnet says it should do it. It needs to pull plane dimensions and aspect ratios from Blender. So I asked it to do it, and I opened Blender before I said yes. I had to open Blender, disconnect and reconnect the MCPs so that Claude could see Blender is open, and now it's doing something. I want to get moving with this. It is giving me a PDF. Can you believe it? So it read the file that it was supposed to read, and it says, oh, earlier in our conversation, I thought it was a shared sprite sheet. And when I read that paper, it says, no, it's got to be the different files instead of one file. So here they are. Wallpaper, floor, delete this guy there before export, sofa. So am I supposed to put in the 4 squares? I asked it to clarify why there are 4 boxes on each page. He says, oh, it's my center crosshair guide, and it's meant to help you center the pictogram. It's not 4 separate cells. Draw 1 icon per page. Ignore the crosshair. Delete both guide layers before exporting. And that clears it up for me. I'm just like, yes, 1 picture, not the same picture 4 times.